Okay, so let's unpack this story a little bit.
Yeah.
Imagine a university campus, right, in Indore, India. Students are rushing to class. Professors are, thinking about whatever they think about. And right there, amidst this everyday scene, a love story begins. But this isn't your typical, college romance, right? This one's a little twisted,
Mhm.
shrouded in secrets and ultimately marked by tragedy. It's 2015, and we have this respected lecturer, Professor Arun Joshi. He finds himself drawn to a student, a bright and eager student named Sneha Patel, and their connection deepens and it starts to blur the lines between mentor and lover and respect and obsession. What begins as stolen glances, quick looks in the hallway and stuff, soon escalates into a full-blown affair, a dangerous dance, hidden from the judging eyes of, the academic world and everybody else around them. But like all things built on secrets, right? This affair is fragile, destined to shatter.
You know what strikes me is how easily an ordinary setting like university can become the backdrop for such a tragic story. The inherent power dynamics between a professor and a student. It creates a breeding ground for manipulation and blurred lines.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like the power imbalance itself becomes a character in this story almost, influencing every decision, every interaction. How do you think Arun Joshi's position of authority might have affected his actions in this case?
Well, you see someone in a position of authority often holds a certain level of influence, right, over those they supervise or teach. And this can create a sense of entitlement, a belief that they can bend the rules, maybe even exploit their position for personal gain. In Arun's case, he might have felt emboldened by his status, thinking he could get away with this forbidden romance.
That makes sense.
Uh,
So on the other side of that, how do you think Sneha's position as a student made her more vulnerable?
Well, for Sneha, it's about looking up to a figure of authority. Professors are often seen as mentors, guides, even role models. This creates a natural power imbalance, especially for a young student eager to impress, to succeed. It's easy to see how she might have been drawn to Arun's attention, mistaking his interest for genuine affection.
So she was kind of caught in this web of admiration and ambition,
Hmm.
making it harder to see the reality of the situation.
Exactly, and that's what makes the story so unsettling. It's a reminder that even in seemingly safe spaces like a university campus, these power dynamics can be incredibly powerful, leading to devastating consequences.
Let's kind of trace the arc of their relationship as it develops. It begins with Owen showing favoritism towards Sneha, maybe giving her extra attention in class, opportunities that other students don't get.
Yeah, these seemingly small gestures can be incredibly potent, right? Especially in an academic setting where grades and recommendations hold so much weight, it creates a sense of obligation, a feeling that Sneha owes Arun something in return for his kindness.
Right, and that's how the lines start to blur. What began as favoritism soon blossomed into a full-blown affair. They tried to keep it under wraps, but of course rumors start to spread, creating this undercurrent of tension and suspicion.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to keep a secret like that completely hidden. You can imagine the whispers in the hallways, the sidelong glances from colleagues. It becomes this unspoken truth that everyone knows, but no one wants to acknowledge.
It feels like the atmosphere itself becomes thick with secrecy, adding to the overall sense of unease. And
Exactly.
that's where the red flags really start waving, right?
Ugh.
It's crucial to recognize the signs of an inappropriate relationship, especially when there's a clear power imbalance like this. In this case, it's a professor and a student. But these dynamics can play out in any setting. So what are some of those telltale signs that something might be amiss? What should people be looking out for?
Well, I think excessive attention or favoritism is a big one, right? If someone in a position of authority is singling out another person for special treatment, that's a red flag. Also, secrecy and a reluctance to be seen together in public can be a sign that something inappropriate is going on.
Yeah, like they're trying to hide their relationship knowing that it's wrong.
Exactly. And then there's the potential for manipulation.
Mm.
The person in the position of power might make promises they have no intention of keeping playing on the other person's vulnerability.
Right. In this case, Neo starts to believe that she and Arun have a future together.
Hmm.
But the reality is he has no plans to leave his wife.
This is where the power imbalance really comes into play. Sneha, caught in the web of this affair, might be blinded by her feelings, hoping against hope that Arun will choose her. Meanwhile, Arun is likely aware of the power he holds and might be exploiting that to keep Sneha invested in the relationship.
It's just heartbreaking. She's clinging to a promise that he never intended to keep.
And this realization, when it finally hits Sneha, is devastating. It's a betrayal that cuts deep, leaving her feeling used and heartbroken.
It's almost like a switch flips in her mind. The illusion is shattered, and the anger and resentment start to build.
The sources mention that Sneha confided in a close friend at this point, sharing her pain and the truth about the affair.
That confidant could have been a lifeline for Sneha, someone to offer support and guidance. It's so important to have people you can trust, especially when you're going through something so emotionally turbulent.
Absolutely. Sometimes just having someone to listen to validate your feelings can make a world of difference.
But in this case, it seems like the confidant's support wasn't enough. Driven by a mix of hurt and anger, Sneha decides to confront Arun, demanding answers, threatening to expose their affair if he doesn't commit to her.
This confrontation marks a turning point in the story. Up until this point, it's been a secret affair, a messy entanglement. But now it's out in the open and the stakes are much higher.
It's like a pressure cooker about to explode. The tension is palpable. What was Arun's reaction to this confrontation?
From what we can gather, Arun panicked. His carefully constructed life, his career, his family, his reputation, it was all on the verge of crumbling.
He's facing the consequences of his actions. The fear of exposure is driving him to desperate measures.
That fear can be incredibly powerful, pushing people to do things they wouldn't normally consider.
And tragically for Sneha, that fear turned deadly. On June 18, 2015, she goes to Arun's home. What happens next is a nightmare.
The details of that night are still shrouded in some mystery, but what we do know is that the confrontation escalated into a physical altercation.
The argument, the accusations, the sheer desperation of the situation, it all boiled over into violence.
In a moment of rage, Arun struck Sneha, causing her to collapse. He panicked, realizing the gravity of his actions. He had gone too far, and now he had a horrifying secret to conceal.
This is where the story takes an even darker turn. Arun, consumed by fear and desperation, chooses to cover up his crime instead of seeking help.
He decides to dispose of Sneha's body in a remote area, hoping to erase the evidence of his actions.
But as we know, the truth has a way of surfacing. It's only a matter of time before the investigation begins. It doesn't take long, right, for suspicions to arise. Sneha's friends and family start noticing her absence, and their worry grows with each passing day, and eventually, they report her missing, and that sets the wheels of justice in motion.
The Indore police launch a full-scale investigation, meticulously piecing together the events leading up to Sneha's disappearance. They interview her friends, family, classmates, anyone who might have information about her relationship with Professor Joshi.
And as they delve deeper, right, a disturbing picture begins to emerge. Witnesses describe Sneha's infatuation with Arun, the whispers of an affair, her recent distress over his broken promises.
The investigators also uncover physical evidence. Sneha's body is eventually found in the remote area where Arun had left her. Forensic analysis confirms the brutal truth. She died from blunt force trauma, a tragic end to a life full of promise.
It's just chilling to think about the meticulous work of these investigators, analyzing every detail, following every lead until they bring the truth to light. Do the sources mention any specific evidence that was particularly damning for Arun? Yeah, they do. A search of Arun's home uncovered traces of Sneha's blood, directly linking him to the crime scene. But perhaps the most compelling evidence came from the digital realm. Investigators unearthed a trove of incriminating communication between Arun and Sneha: emails, text messages, voicemails, all revealing the volatile nature of their relationship, the arguments, the threats, the desperation. Wow. It's almost as if their digital footprint became a silent witness to the unraveling of their affair and the events leading up to Sneha's tragic death.
Exactly. In today's world, our digital lives often hold the key to unlocking the truth.
Faced with this mounting evidence, the pressure on Arun becomes unbearable. He cracks under interrogation, confessing to killing Sneha, but claiming it was a crime of passion, an impulsive act fueled by fear and desperation.
The question of premeditation versus a crime of passion becomes central to the legal proceedings. Was this a calculated act or a spontaneous outburst?
The trial unfolds in the glare of the media spotlight. The Indore professor's affair captivates the public, raising questions about power, morality, and the dark side of human nature. You can almost feel the tension in the courtroom as the prosecution and defense present their cases.
The prosecution paints Arun as a manipulative predator who abused his position of authority to engage in a forbidden relationship, ultimately silencing Sneha when she threatened to expose him. The defense, on the other hand, argues that Arun was driven to a moment of temporary insanity by Sneha's threats and the fear of losing everything.
So it becomes a battle of narratives, with each side trying to convince the jury of their version of events.
The jury ultimately finds Arun Joshi guilty of second-degree murder, a verdict that speaks volumes about their belief that his actions, while not premeditated, were a direct result of his reckless choices and the abuse of his power.
He's sentenced to 25 years in prison, a harsh but perhaps fitting punishment for a crime that took a young life and shattered countless others.
The case sparks widespread outrage and calls for reform within academic institutions. Universities implement stricter policies regarding relationships between faculty and students, emphasizing the importance of professional boundaries and the need to protect vulnerable individuals.
Sneha's family, despite their immense grief, bravely turned their pain into action, becoming vocal advocates for awareness and prevention. They work tirelessly to ensure that no other family has to endure the same nightmare. Their story is a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable loss, there's the power to create positive change.
The Indore professor's affair leaves a lasting impact, forcing society to confront the uncomfortable realities of power imbalances and their potential for abuse. It underscores the importance of clear boundaries, ethical conduct, and the need for support systems that empower those who are vulnerable.
This deep dive has been a difficult but necessary exploration of a tragic case. We've uncovered the complexities of a forbidden love, the devastating consequences of unchecked power, and the ripple effects that extend far beyond the individuals involved.
This case serves as a stark reminder that these situations can happen anywhere, and it's up to all of us to be vigilant, to recognize the warning signs, and to create environments where everyone feels safe and respected.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of the Indore professor's affair. We hope this deep dive has been insightful, if not a bit unsettling. Remember, knowledge is power, and by understanding these issues, we can all contribute to a safer world. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle for more captivating stories from the world of true crime. And for a visual companion to this episode, check out our YouTube channel where you'll find photos, maps, and other supplementary materials. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and as always, stay vigilant.